Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Podcast Strikes Back. My name is George. You're listening to the weekly movie show with the boys Connor,
hello,
Benny.
Hi there.
We got a stacked episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Once upon a time in Hollywood trailer, Toy Story, John Wick. We're talking about it. I'm looking forward to it. And we've got an awesome question of the week that is going to take up a decent amount of time, I can tell. We've been thinking about that one for a while. So stay tuned for the end of the episode with that.
Can I just mention, does he seem a lot more chill, this intro, to you?
Yeah, so an air of relaxation.
Yeah.
I've overcome an obstacle in my life, guys, in the past 30 minutes.
Because I remember him saying quite specifically, like, "Oh, I just want to chill out on the intro and all that." And this is very interesting to see him actually like
Giving a bit of gusto.
No, you're taking gusto away.
Well, I felt like I was giving it a lot there, so my intent is completely off.
No, I'm just saying you're more relaxed. Like it's
Good.
usually a very aggressive.
Okay, I'm trying to be like I'm trying to scream at
intro.
people less, you know.
You set goals for yourself. It's good. Might be hard with Connor around, but
Just quickly before we get into what we watched, we have something really exciting coming up on April 6th. We're doing a live stream of Infinity War. Our commentary of it. So this is going to be available after the fact as well. But tune in on Facebook, midday Australian Eastern Daylight. When's Daylight Savings coming out or going out? Who knows? You'll figure it out. But April 6th, we're going to be sitting down on the couch with some microphones, tuning in. You guys can hit us up in Messenger. Let's chat about it. It's going to be real fun. Let's make it interactive. So I'm really excited for that. And we're just expanding the repertoire here. So, you know, maybe a Justice League commentary in the pipeline. I'm very much vibing that.
we figured us sitting around talking is not only great on its own, we should do it over really good movies as well to make them better.
Yeah.
To spread the love.
Yeah, like
you know?
just Justice League. Yeah.
There's a certain sense of
primo
arrogance to
stuff.
that I actually quite like.
A certain sense. Yeah.
Commentaries in general are actually quite an arrogant thing. They're like, someone has spent hours and like days, years sometimes, on producing this wonderful thing for you, and we're gonna talk over it for 2 hours. That's fucking
like
fantastic. Yeah,
How dare
we're gonna
you.
do it anyways. But I mean,
I'm going to be an old man just sitting in cinemas, just talking about the movie that's playing. So everyone can hear me.
seriously. And now that we've slammed commentaries in general, we're gonna do one.
That's it.
Tune in.
We're really authentic around here. All right, let's get into what we watched, Connor.
I've watched nothing. Really nothing. Seriously, I'm trying to think like
Except like these 8 things.
no.
But God damn it, if you won't pull out some obscure thing you rewatched.
Probably. The only thing that I've really watched, and it is something that I've rewatched, is Justified. So I'm up to like season, I think 5 now.
Is that the DB Sweeney season? DB Cooper?
The
Guy jumped out of a plane?
No, the one after that.
Okay.
So
That's the last one I saw.
Michael Rappaport, is that his name?
Sure.
That comes into it. Oh, so you haven't finished it up?
No.
Oh,
I 1 or 2 seasons I didn't watch.
I really like. It's hard to make a recommendation that someone's actually going to follow through on, but I do recommend you tough it out through the last 2 seasons because I really like the way that they kind of close up the series. It felt really, and I'll give you my opinion once I've rewatched it with the ending to see if it still feels the same. But the ending I really liked when I first watched it. Although I will say this, and I don't think I mentioned this previously, is that the first couple seasons are. It's a bit weird because the memory that you have of a series can be kind of tainted by later seasons or can be, you can kind of see it through rose-tinted glasses or something like that. The first couple of seasons, the actual craft of the filmmaking or the TV making, whatever have you, isn't that great. Like
that's television. Like TV
Exactly.
has
It's come a
improved
long way,
so quickly.
a lot, like just like little things like editing and time, like music and just continuity, just little things that you're like, this doesn't feel as well to put together, and that certainly changes towards the end. Like at the end, it's on point, but
Quite cool to see that in a piece.
Yeah, but you don't notice it going like forward. It's only when I revisited it that I was like, oh, that's right. Like this had a couple of maybe even seasons that it was just like getting there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm up to about I think season 5 now, and it's still holding my interest. Still really enjoying it.
Killer. All done?
That's
Yeah.
it. That's literally it
Nice
for me.
one.
I've been, yeah.
I chucked on something that I've been meaning to watch for a while. We need to talk about Kevin. Oofed.
Cool.
Interesting.
Wow.
Like
what
it?
What a confronting film.
yeah.
Have you read the book?
No. I've read 7 books.
Oh, yeah.
Harry
Yeah,
Potter
that
1
guy
to 7.
have you read the book? No. Mm.
Well, this is interesting.
Peasants.
Curious.
Quite an incredible character study. Tilda Swinton is outstanding in it.
And a perfect role for Ezra Miller.
Yeah, I actually watched it with my in-ear Bluetooth headphones on my laptop because Ash was watching something on the TV and I was just like, I just want to watch this. And she wasn't super keen. And the sound design, having the headphones in, I really appreciated it and it wrapped me into the film quite a lot. It was very impressive sonically.
Yeah, cool.
The sense of dread and it's a very unsettling film.
Yeah.
But it succeeds so well. I really, really highly recommend it. I think it's a fantastic piece.
Yeah. What surprised me about that movie
Filmmaking, sorry.
is I found it almost comical at points in how intense it was and the situation being so extreme. And, obviously with the subject matter it's dealing with, like a mother trying to figure out if her son is just evil. And how to deal with that. Like
And is it her fault? And
it's
so complex.
so dark and emotional and like I said, kind of funny at points, like extremely in a
I
really
didn't
dark
get
way.
any
Oh man, I thought
interesting.
I can't wait to watch that again. That movie.
I highly recommend it. Fantastic piece. And I also watched Infinity War.
Cool.
In preparation, I wanted to kind of watch it before the commentary.
I did too. Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought I would have almost thought it would have been better to come at it. I was really
kind of
excited.
just react to it.
Yeah, I was really excited to get your guys' reaction to Infinity War. Having not seen it since the cinema, I was actually really excited.
I'm so glad
because we've talked about that.
No, because I just would have been like, Connor, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
This is the best bit.
Seriously, I was like, and then I forgot about that. Oh, I love that line.
This bit. Oh, I remember this bit.
Oh, he got the new suit. Fuck. I just had to get it out of my system.
Yeah.
And then I watched a little bit of the Russo brothers commentary.
Nice.
With the 2 writers whose name's escaping me right now.
McFeely and
Marcus McFeely and
the
old
other
mate McGee.
yeah,
Great pair. Great pair. But it was just fascinating to hear the process and the insights and the anecdotes from putting this gargantuan film together.
So was it the Russos and the writers on the commentary? Were
Yeah,
they
all
in the
together.
room? Yeah,
All
cool.
together.
I hate those ones that are like spliced together.
They're the
They're
worst.
horrible.
They're just
yeah.
like slicing from interviews.
Yeah.
It's like, this is really a commentary. This is a voiceover.
Yeah.
That's me.
Cool. All right, I watched a couple more things than you guys. Last
Shock me.
night I chucked on M. Night Shyamalan's Signs.
Sins.
Oh no.
Signs. I love this movie. Every time I sit down and watch it, it impresses me more in some other way. Especially the opening credits, where I'm just like, is the whole movie this good?
I'm like, Connor?
Is the whole movie like this?
Yeah.
Fuck, that still cracks me up. Every time
Yeah.
I see Signs,
No,
all I
that's a
can think of is
classic.
George sitting in my living room, like looking over to me going, is the whole movie like this?
George's overreaction notwithstanding, those opening titles really do set the mood. They're really
yeah.
intense.
He's got such a composed style in that film. Like it's all very neatly put together, and
Yeah.
it was quite interesting watching it for the first time because that really stood out very immediately.
And I was watching it with someone who's not very scary movie literate. So they found like 6 or 7 points in the movie to jump out of their seat. And that
I remember watching it, and there was a couple of those when I was a kid.
absolutely when
And it's because of the character development, I feel. Like
totally, and
that's-
because at the time Shyamalan was not unfairly heralded as a master of suspense because the way he builds things up, there's so much focus on people's faces and their reactions. You rarely see what they are seeing.
eyes.
Yeah. And it really builds it up in a way that no amount of, like monsters coming at you could do. And he really is shows a lot of restraint with that.
Yeah, and I feel like the characters as well. Like, it wasn't just a spectacle. It was you feared for these people.
Totally. And I mean, he's got Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix in The One Family. Like, those are two phenomenal actors. Like, say what you want about Mel Gibson, and it's all fair.
The one piece, I think they're in the basement or something, and like the lights in Mel Gibson's eyes, the is like shining in his eyes. The lights are down, and it's a very intense conversation going on. That is an amazing piece of filmmaking. It's so interpersonal, and I love that film. And I was blown away the first time I saw it.
Yeah. I think
story.
at this point, this is my favorite from Shyamalan, definitely.
Cool.
After Glass, I don't really want to think about
So-
Unbreakable for a while.
So Glass is coming in at number 2?
Yes, Glass.
Yeah. I guess the main question is, upon rewatching, how did you find the ending?
There's a little too much of that. So my issues with it are not at all like what people's generally are with it, which is like, oh, what a convenient ending. They're afraid of water. Why would they go to a planet with water? Because I don't think the movie's about that. I think the movie's about faith and miracles and grief and a man trying to find something that he's lost. This connection with God. It's a little too neat. There's one too many like setups that pay off, but that doesn't detract from it all. For me, I think it's such a great ending to tie it all together. It's not just like it's not a story just about like aliens coming and they have to defeat aliens. Like there's just a little more under the hood.
Totally.
And I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, it's always felt very allegorical compared to something like maybe War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
They're in very different camps in that alien invasion genre.
Yeah, despite having a kind of a similar
mechanism in the
denouement.
ending.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I also watched a very different film, Tag, from last year. I think it was the year before. The Jeremy
Is that a
Renner,
rewatch or is that
John
the first time
Hamm.
you've
No,
watched
first
it?
time I'd seen it. Because it's one I enjoyed the trailers for, and with a cast like that, I'm like, I'm gonna watch this movie no matter what. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was definitely not hysterical. Not a movie you have to run out and see at the cinema or anything. But it was fun. Like I said, just with that cast of actors, it's like this is always going to be somewhat of a good time.
Did you know that Renner had his arms green screened off and replaced with digital arms?
Yeah, he
for the
broke both
entire-
of his arms in one of the stunts that is in the film.
Are you
You ride
kidding
some
me?
chairs down to the ground.
Dead set. I watched the entire film. Did not know. Like I didn't know that fact before I had watched it, and I didn't even notice. Not once.
No, not at all. It's a very polished movie. I think being
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It's intense, right?
Yeah, being a comedy, I think it must have had a decent budget for what it is and what happens in it, because there's a bunch of action and fight scenes in it that are really well executed. They're all it's when all the guys try and tag Jeremy Renner, who's like the master of tag, never been tagged in 40 years. And then it goes into like this full-on Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes sequence of him like, and this guy's coming from the left, so I have to do this and twist this around. And it's all really well shot and really fun. It's only a relatively small part of the movie, but I found it enjoyable. If you like those actors, I think that's the reason to go for it.
That's one of the things. It was a really stacked cast.
And how did you find it?
I thought it was funny, but like you, Ben, I wouldn't say it was hysterical.
No, not at all.
Like the filmmaking of it was like impressive. Like that was a far better, that was that was far better shot than it should have been.
You're turning into me last week.
Seriously.
Welcome.
Is it too late to have coffee?
Welcome.
Yeah,
There's no fucking way I'm watching this.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely not essential.
Yeah.
Although Hannibal Buress is in it, and he's one of my favorite
he's
fucking
fucking
guys.
hilarious.
He's so funny because I just don't think he's an actor. Like he's almost laughing in every scene he's in everything he's
just
in.
a dude.
He's so funny. In terms of new releases, I checked out Fighting with My Family, the WWE film.
Yep.
Nice.
About Paige, the wrestler. I don't know shit about wrestling, about WWE. I've never seen
Mick Foley, Stone Cold.
match. They call them matches. I've never seen one in my life.
It's an event,
I know a lot
man.
of the names from when I was like 8 years old, and everyone
That's all I know about
cared
it as
about
well.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I only know the old WWF.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, totally. The World Wildlife
Pre-E.
Foundation is what we're talking about, I assume. No,
Love those pandas, man.
Yeah, this was in a lot of ways a fairly standard kind of rags to riches, sports movie montages. But there was something about it just a little extra. Like there was that element. There's also a certain bit of like lionizing the WWE. Like in some ways, it was sort of an advertisement for that. You know, a lot of cameos. You know, The Rock's in there in a supporting role. But
as if you're going into that not knowing that though.
Totally. And so with that kind of context going in, it was directed by what's his face, Ricky Gervais's writing partner, Stephen
Merchant.
Stephen Merchant, yeah.
He wrote it.
God Monster. He wrote and directed it, yeah.
Really? Well, that makes me very intrigued.
He has a very small role in it. Yeah.
Oggy.
Yeah. So yeah, it was also more kind of dramatic and emotional, I expected, because it's a parallel story about her rising to the top and her brother who wanted a role in the WWE as much as her. They'd been fighting together their whole lives, and he didn't get picked up.
Right.
So he just kind of slips into this really deep depression. And so it's this kind of really back and forth interesting story, yeah. And the weird thing about it, though, is just having read about the real life stuff, Paige's life and career have taken a really dark turn ever since the kind of events that are showed in this film, which just does kind of put a weird cloud over it.
Is she quite punky? Paige.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah, like fishnets and
yeah.
black.
Who was she? She was with somebody in the WWE, right?
It doesn't really cover that. It only leads up to like her first match.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, she's played,
retired or something. Did she break her back or?
She's retired. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also been some sex tape stuff or like a lot of stuff. But
yeah.
It's fucked up. But she's played in the movie by Florence Pugh, who we talked about last week. Just got a role in the Black Widow movie. Which I'm very happy about because she's fantastic in this. Really cool young actor. I think she might be playing kind of like a villain in Black Widow, which is a shame because I think she's...
oh, really? I thought she was going to be like kind of part of Black Widow's squad or something.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully.
Yeah, well, that's what I was
I never
down
really
for.
took Black Widow for having a squad.
I thought that would be fucking awesome.
That would kind of go against the whole
be so
character.
cool.
Spider names.
Explain that. Why would that be?
killer.
Why would that be killer?
I just think
Because that would be like a lot of assassins. How would that not be killer?
Like, wouldn't that go
Like,
directly against
four
what the whole character
female
is?
assassins.
She's one of the Avengers. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but that's kind of like...
We've literally only ever seen her in
get this
team-up
sense-
movies. She's
you
never
get-
had one of her own.
my point is you get this sense that in her past she was this kind of like cold-hearted solo act.
She could have been part of a death squad, though, of widows.
I guess...
I mean, she was. Like, but anyway, off topic. I've still got more to get through.
Good Lord.
I've been watching through the new DuckTales series.
Nice.
DuckTales has a new series.
Starring David Tennant and Ben Schwartz and a few other really cool names. Yes, DuckTales, woo. This is, I won't talk about this long. This is a really well put together series. If you're a fan of the original, I know a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia for that show. And if you're an adult who likes cartoons like me and not these guys, give it a go. It's really well put together. I think that there is this amazing kind of golden age of children's TV nowadays that we may be starting to get into when we were young, but never truly got in the way the way stories are told and real attention is given to making quality TV. So that's a lot of fun. I also rewatched a contentious one among the TPSB crew, Thor Ragnarok.
I like this one.
Which I hadn't seen since my second viewing in the cinema.
Yep.
And have a lot of mixed feelings about. On this viewing, I got to say, I really dug it. I really enjoyed it. I kind of loved it. I also think it might be the worst looking film in the MCU. Not even in just terms of the CGI that I complain about a lot. The film is shot so flatly, most of it looks like a stage play. I don't know if this is...
Yeah, I kind of know what you mean.
I don't know if this is Taika's inexperience with a production this big, or if something else happened. I think this complaint is leveled against the MCU a lot, but I think it's never more present than in this one, where it's so flat. It's so bad it almost seems like a stylistic choice. Like it looks like a Wes Anderson thing or something, but a bad version of that, because it's always just two characters standing in front of a backdrop, and it's a really poorly put in backdrop.
And don't you think he had that kind of thing with Where the Wilder People Are? He had that kind of same sort of looking, that Wes Anderson-y.
And that works really well for an indie comedy kind of thing.
I guess he doesn't lean into it enough to make it super like...
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're making a huge tentpole sci-fi epic built on... obviously the characters in one regard, but spectacle in another. It's just a shame that it doesn't, because this viewing really eased a lot of my issues with other aspects of the film, which I still think are there. There's some tonal dissonance to that movie that is really weird, but otherwise it's a fucking riot.
They talk about that in the commentary they say, we're writing this film in 2016. Thor Ragnarok hasn't come out. There's not even a script for Thor Ragnarok. This is the writers of Infinity War. And they're like, we didn't anticipate Ragnarok to end on this Led Zeppelin, sparkly kind of thing. And then you get into Infinity War and it's like, no, like ominous shit, some dark shit.
Well, I mean, but I kind of like that.
That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the problem.
And some people do have a problem with that.
No, I don't think
that.
there is an issue between movies. I think it's all within that movie. This movie was titled Ragnarok, the end of the world, years before Taika signed on to make it a buddy comedy. So it has these storylines that I don't think converge well. I don't think the cutting back and forth between them, which barely even happens, like the Hela stuff is barely acknowledged in that movie. I don't think it works well. I think Thor's whole world is getting destroyed and he's off palling around with the Hulk, which is great stuff. But it doesn't merge quite well.
But he wasn't like just palling around with the Hulk. He like wanted to get back.
No, I know. I'm overstating it a little bit, but I don't think that would have been the angle that Taika would have taken if the movie hadn't already been set in stone to be about what it's about,
Yeah, fair enough.
So you don't think he would have taken subject matter that is quite as harsh as that?
Well, I don't think he would have made it about, like genocide,
But I mean, to be fair, it's not about genocide at all. It's about, their home. The people got off the planet.
A lot of them died.
Is that when it gets destroyed? Is that
when she goes there and kills hundreds of them, including the Warriors 3, which I'm still sour about. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Listen, seriously, everyone, listen to the Taika Waititi commentary of that.
Oh God,
it is absolutely brilliant.
So funny.
You can actually just listen to it as a podcast because he's just like him going like woohoo.
It's non-sequiturs, yeah.
He's fucking great.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yeah, I can't wait for a couple of things he's got coming up. Anyway, on to the news, I think.
You're done.
I'm done.
Oh,
I mean,
initiate news.
Let's go. First up, speaking of, Avengers Endgame has had its runtime listed by AMC Theaters as 3 hours and 2 minutes. So we heard they had a final cut a month or two ago that was about 3 hours. Looks like they haven't cut any of that out, which is great.
Yeah, supposedly that was the test screenings went well.
I mean, good on them. Good on them to stick to their guns. I mean, one of the common, I guess, complaints that's leveled against the third movie in the Lord of the Rings franchise is that it is so fucking bloody long, particularly if you get into the extended cut thing. I watch the extended cut anytime I can because I absolutely love that shit. And I reckon that people that are into Marvel are going to really appreciate the fact that they've kept as much in as they can.
Yeah. Well, if a story calls for it, then it's not going to feel bloated like certain things do, like, Michael Bay movies. I mean, we went through a period a decade or two ago when movies were really swelling to that 3 hour mark quite often. And I think they really pulled it back in the last 5-10 to where, like, I mean, this is easily the longest MCU movie.
There's a bit of more of a formula. It wasn't like, the creative vision is 3 hours. That's the story we have to tell. It's like, nah, we need 6 sessions a day, 2 hours per session.
It used to be. I think that 3 hour thing happened when it became cheaper and cheaper to make longer and longer films. And people would just kind of like, if we can, let's just, fucking ramp it up. Which doesn't actually make that much sense. But in terms of, we did see a lot of films that didn't feel like they needed to be that long that just kind of went that long.
It's like, why? You're losing money in every way. Yeah.
It's actually kind of funny. Even the Transformers was meant to be like 5 hours or something like that. At least one of the cuts for one of those films, if memory serves.
What was that one? The Tree of Life. That was meant to be that. Like,
and
Terrence
they cut
Malick
it down.
had an 8 hour cut,
and it kind of goes both ways. Like if you cut a film enough, then it's going to seem not bloated, but just kind of mix mash of things that don't really fully come together. And then you're like, well, now this feels too long because it's had too much cut out. Like I think that what the movie should be and what the I guess the artistic vision for a movie is what the runtime should be, and you're just gonna cop it.
Yeah, in a general sense, maybe I think in the current studio system, a long running time like this to me is a sign of quality because
Feige will give him notes.
Justice League infamously had the mandate put down on like 2 hours.
Yeah.
This movie sucks.
Which choked it.
Do not make it longer than 2 hours. Yeah. And then, of course, there's Fan Four Stick, which was like 90 minutes long. It's got to be the shortest superhero movie ever made because it was so bad they just had to cut everything out.
Yeah, I mean, watching Infinity War again, that film is just so rapid fire. It's cool to see, the
Feels breezy,
runtime.
though.
The runtime, yeah, no, it does. Runtime for Infinity was 2 hours 29, and I'm sure there's a 10-minute credit sequence in there.
Oh yeah.
So we're getting an extra half hour. I am so pumped.
I think this movie is going to take a lot more time to breathe than
I agree.
Infinity War did. Infinity War was just a clusterfuck of holy shit, everything's going crazy, and then really bad. And this movie's going to kind of let them sit on it for a bit.
Did you guys see them talking about in a previous draft that Infinity War ended before the snap?
Oh wow!
And then so they were going to do the snap in Endgame, and then they decided no.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, and then they decided, okay, no, we're going to move it here, and we're going to make these 2 films. Like this is going to be the moment that separates them.
Was there ever a time where
that.
Infinity War was just going to be one movie?
No. There was.
Oh, it's going.
Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, and then they changed it. Yeah, that's okay. Now I remember.
That's interesting because cliffhangers are generally so divisive. It could have been an easy move not to do that.
Totally.
In fact, they generally hate it, I think. So it's speaks well of Infinity War that everyone's pretty on board with what they did.
Everyone just left the cinema like, oh my God, what happened?
Spider-Man. Spoilers. Next up, the Disney-Fox merger has officially gone through. This happened March the 20th. We've known about this for ages. This was no huge news, but unfortunately, straight away within the first week, the production banner Fox 2000 has kind of immediately been shuttered. Does
that mean shut down?
Shut down, yeah. Everyone laid off.
Nice.
With, from what I understand, pretty decent severance packages, 1 to 2 years of salary, which is, not the worst thing.
That's Disney money.
It's that mouse money, yeah. But this is an extreme thing to do right out of the gate.
Was it 4,000 jobs I saw?
Something like that. And this is probably not the most well-known kind of Fox banner. They're kind of a source of like mid-budget dramas, kind of teen stuff, some just kind of serious movies for adults. So a lot of really good stuff that I can't imagine a juggernaut like Disney really focusing production on. It was that really kind of fading sector of films that is moving more to streaming services.
That $50 million budget kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Like, let the streaming service have those films. I mean, if you're not kind of well suited in the industry to, produce those films and to, spend time, money, and effort on it, then cut it.
They have made plenty of movies that have made money. Like this is not an unsuccessful...
under Disney's banner and under Disney's management.
Yeah, Disney's got a different ethos.
Yeah.
They're not going to go and give a filmmaker on his second or third movie $60 million to go make. Like Fox were obviously trying to cultivate talent with Fox 2000.
Yeah.
That was sort of like their next step up for their directors.
Although having said that,
talent.
they gave Taika Waititi a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
So.
that's the new model. That's the new model.
Yeah, I can't see this as anything but a bit of a loss at the moment because we've still got Fox Searchlight, as far as we know, and they make amazing fucking stuff. Generally a little higher tier, more awards kind of focused movies. But it was just really good to have, another, within a massive conglomerate, but another little guy sort of. I as a movie fan, I always think more movies in cinemas is a good thing. I don't really want to see that disappear. I don't want to see that variety and choice disappear. But I think this whole Fox Disney merger is insane, and only time will tell how fucking catastrophic it is for the world. But this is a sour note to start on.
Yeah, once we get a chippy Xenomorph, that's when we're done. That's when we're fucking done. Yeah. Okay, guys. When is Wolverine coming to the MCU? Steak dinner. Right now. I'm
not going to bet on it.
We're talking month and we're talking year.
I'm not going to bet on it. I really hope they wait like years. I hope, the more I think about it.
2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
5, 6 at least.
2024.
At least. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I tend to agree with Ben that the X-Men in their current form really don't have any place in the MCU. And I know a lot of people are being like, finally, X-Men is coming home, all of this kind of jazz. But I think that's a lot of comic book fans maybe that are kind of looking at the Marvel comic book universe and thinking, I want to see this on screen. Where what we know so far is that the MCU isn't the comic book universe, and it's not tonally the same. It's not, story-wise the same. I think that the X-Men that we know doesn't really have a place in this particular MCU. I think that you could start to add a couple of characters here and there, but I don't think that they'll put Wolverine, at least in the MCU as it currently exists.
I think I have my own set of reservations about how effectively they can incorporate the X-Men, because I do share the same opinion with you guys that it's quite nice having them exist in their own realm and them have their own space to play in. But I don't think you can't do that in the MCU, and we've seen them do that with Guardians of the Galaxy. At one point in time, they were very separate. It's actually funny, it's like funny rewatching Infinity War and being like, wow, this is actually the first time Thor meets the Guardians of the Galaxy. It seems so part and parcel these days.
Like, I mean, the X-Men...
They can exist in very different tones, and like Guardians of the Galaxy has retro music, and it's got a different vibe, and then you can push that to another extreme.
It is not that tonally different than the rest of the MCU. It's very obviously still an MCU film.
It's got its own flavors, though.
Whereas the X-Men, the premise, the style, the pedigree even is a mile away from what you find in the MCU as a whole.
What do you mean pedigree?
I mean, you don't have the range of films in terms of good and shit in the MCU that you do in the
but I mean, like
the X-Men Fox.
I mean, they're going to recast everyone. They're going to give it a different vibe.
Yeah,
they're going to
reinvent
it. It can't exist as it is. It can't that version. Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen. It's done. And that's a similar thing to like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the Tom Holland Spider-Man. It's a reinvention.
But then even look at logistically, and this is something that's been brought up time and time again. How do you retcon the X-Men into this universe? Because I mean, the X-Men are well known by this time in at least in the comic book timeline, but even in just
I'm sure they're going to do something with the what was the term they used in Age of Ultron for the enhanced. They'll do something with that.
How much flack did they get for taking mutants and making them enhanced? And like, can you imagine?
None.
Sorry,
none.
Yeah, I
everyone's fine with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
A bunch of people have a bitch and a whinge about that.
Nerds.
And in addition to that, can you imagine like the whole idea of mutants and like the one of the main reasons, or one of the main, I guess, plot devices of the X-Men in general is that the mutants are a form of evolution, and that tension between normal humans and mutants and all that. Can you imagine just taking that and ripping that out of the X-Men? That'd be bizarre.
As I said, I've got my own set of reservations, and they do have to handle it with sophistication. But I don't think Marvel is not. I think they know what they're doing, and they will find a good way to incorporate it.
We don't know if they are incorporating, and that's the thing. They know what they're doing.
Supposedly, there's the next event film is going to be Avengers versus X-Men.
I think beyond Marvel knowing what they're doing.
Says John. John on the internet.
Yeah.
John's right like 87% of the time.
That sounds like
4%, but that 4% is. There's some fines.
Look, I think beyond Marvel knowing what they're doing, which they generally do, Disney is an unstoppable juggernaut of money-eating monsters that will, regardless of what Feige wants, who knows how long he's going to be around, I think the integrity of the MCU is going to really start crumbling sooner than we might think.
Why?
And I would not be surprised.
I don't know,
because I think Feige's on the way out. The amount of
Why do you think Feige's on the way
product
out?
they're making, building up, like they're just shooting into new areas, and I don't know. I think I'm not talking about superhero fatigue necessarily. Just I don't know. I don't think they can keep this up to as long after Endgame as we would like. And I would not be surprised if we see within a couple of years, because of this merger, Wolverine just fucking step out of a portal and be like, I'm in the MCU now. Like, yeah. I think they are going to pull the trigger on this shit sooner and maybe sloppier than any of us would like.
What leads you to believe that? I mean, as I said, I have my reservations.
You just said that the next movie is going to be Avengers versus X-Men.
Yeah, that's fucking cool.
No.
How can you say no when
saying,
there's no creative vision? There's no, like, imagine if you sat there and you watched that film and you're like, fuck, they did it again, motherfucker. I would not put that out of the ballpark.
Exactly. I'm not saying either way in this regard. I'm not saying it's going to be good or bad. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if this all really just starts happening a lot quicker than we think.
listen, it's not like they haven't done it with Star Wars. I mean, not that I don't like The
How's
Last
that come
Jedi
from?
or The Force Awakens, but I'm not in
so
Star
how
Wars
have they done it
mode.
with Star Wars?
Well, yeah, so it's not a very good example. I'm talking more about the fan base. I guess my sentiment towards the fan base. So maybe not. Maybe that's a bad example, but that means I'm right.
I think there's
they've
too
done well
much-
with Star Wars, so they'll do well with this. Boom, next story.
I think there's too much that they'd need to change there, and I do worry, Ben, that they might go down that road. I think that people can only do this for so long, and your comments about Feige kind of ring true. Not on that I've heard anything about him leaving, but just it would make sense that he might look at this and I've done 1 to 4 and wash his hands and say like this is my legacy, and then let the MCU do whatever they need to do going forward. And that would scare the shit out of me, because I can definitely see what Ben is saying, and when they say, yeah, let's start bringing in some notable characters. Let's bring in Deadpool. He's really popular. You know what? Let's offer fucking Wolverine a shit ton of money and let's get him back.
I want to see him.
here.
I would love to see an MCU Wolverine movie. I would just think, can you imagine? Like, it would be.
Yeah,
they would give it a really cool vibe.
For the record, I really don't think. Like, I think they could absolutely do great things with the X-Men. No offense, Connor. I think
I like
the amount of shit they've managed to
You're just
actually
very skeptical
make work.
and like.
No, I'm not. I want to say that's not what I was talking about. I'm sorry if that came off the wrong way. I'm not skeptical of them doing the X-Men right. I'm skeptical. Look,
No, you're skeptical of
I
them
just-
being able to keep up the pedigree that they have been.
No,
But
I
this
said
is
that,
not.
not him.
This is not even what I'm talking about. I
let's not even say
just
that.
hate this merger. I think I'm afraid the world's going to end next year. I think I'm just talking about something else.
This is the end times. No, for what I was saying is I think if they do it well and they bring it in they do bring them in, I think they should bring them in kind of like one by one, very slowly, and I think it should be like 5 or 6 years later, and if they do at all, because I think that the task is more monumentous than we really kind of contemplate, because there's so much they would have to change, and you'd have to think about how much of a backlash from the fans that you really
Marvel
want, because
is
they have
the
to
template.
change it.
Marvel is the template for that. They know how to pace themselves, and we've seen that they are the example of not doing it all in the first movie.
And if there's any kind of universal law, in this world, it's that nothing lasts forever.
It is
You
true.
either die the hero, or you
and
watch yourself become the villain.
And they've had the dream run. So if it does all crumble, hey, it's not going to be that much of a surprise.
I think that's my main takeaway is that I am.
Why are you so skeptical, George?
I'm not. I'm actually so pumped.
I am maybe just have this slight feeling in the pit of my stomach. This hasn't really developed into anything yet, but that Marvel is living long enough to become the villain at this point. Like I'm concerned for the future.
That seems to have rung a little bit too true for you there, Ben.
Not in any
Just staring
specific
yourself
way.
in the mirror.
I particularly like the fact that we used a DC quote for Marvel. It's like the ultimate revenge.
Well, DC is the big swinging dick now. They're fucking rock. Shazam early reactions are in. They're very positive.
We shouldn't talk about that. All right. What time is it?
Australia time.
All right. So first trailer that we have this week is the long-awaited Tarantino trailer.
Sorry, that reaction was like. Your reaction to my.
Oh, right, yeah. That's so delayed.
Sorry,
I was
just revisiting that.
That was weird. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So we've got the first trailer for the 9th Tarantino film.
Everyone's losing their minds.
Yeah, but everyone would lose their minds no matter what. He could take a giant steaming shit on screen and people are like, this is the greatest thing ever.
That would be a pretty amazing trailer.
Yeah. Having said that, I really dig this. I think that I have no idea what this is about, really. The one thing that I love is that somehow he has pulled off this feat of making Brad Pitt play second fiddle to someone, which I think is that's fucking bizarre.
You got a Brad Pitt crush. He's always going to be at the top, right?
He's an incredibly impressive actor.
Yeah.
Are you debating that or something?
It is funny seeing two of the biggest leading men
In one film.
ever.
It's a
Kind of work
stunt
together
double.
like that.
It's like an extreme version of watching Life. With Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds be like, you two shouldn't be together.
Thought you just meant the concept of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is more of a vibe trailer. It's more sort of this is where we're set and this is the main kind of characters. And yeah, it doesn't really give that much away.
Yeah.
But I did like the use of the interview black and white with the wider film, and it seems to have a really nice look to it. I'm not super like, I'm just kind of like the fact that it's the brand name Tarantino is just kind of, I'm like, I'm excited for this, but nothing in this made me go like, I am fucking G'd for this.
This isn't one of those kind of like Star Wars or Marvel events where you're like really thinking like, when is this coming out? I have to be the first one to see it. It's like a Tarantino film has never really felt like that to me. Like they're always impressive. I've always enjoyed them, but they've never really been events.
I felt like Inglourious Basterds was for me, and that's
Really?
the only one. And maybe it was just that point in my life, but nothing before or after. And I only really knew about Tarantino with the Grindhouse stuff before that. But that was the only one that really like, wow, that trailer is incredible. I have to go see that opening night.
Yeah, Bastards was really well marketed. I think maybe it was a lot easier to market somehow. I don't know, something about it was a bit more pulpy and kind of fun looking.
I thought Django was probably more the spectacle than anything else. Like I was probably
both
more
of
excited
them, I
to see
think.
Django
Yeah.
than I was.
Yeah, I
Inglourious.
was. Yeah, that's true.
Whereas this trailer just feels more like a PSA for anyone who hasn't caught on yet. It's like there's a Tarantino movie coming, and that's all you really need with him. So
Totally.
that'll do it.
Yep. Anything else you guys want to say about that? I'm excited to see. Like, I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan from back in the day.
He looks great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see Mike Moe, who plays him, has recovered from being in Inhumans.
Oh my goodness.
That's
Was he?
From Inhumans to Tarantino.
Imagine that.
That could be his autobiography.
I think he was in a lot of heavy kind of prosthetics and makeup in Inhumans, so maybe no one knows he was there.
Yeah. And he probably didn't.
Is this your
mention
first
it.
role?
He probably didn't mention it to
Yeah.
many people and be like, "Yeah,
How'd you get the Tarantino gig, bro?
They're gonna retcon him. They're gonna fucking pull a Spacey if they find out that he was in Inhumans. Just be like, we're gonna have to replace you. Sorry.
Christopher Plummer plays Bruce Lee.
So majestic.
Isn't it Michael Gambon?
Oh boy.
Oh dear.
Isn't it John Hurt?
Toy Story 4 came out.
George.
Fuck.
You're really
How are you guys feeling about this?
So look,
Because I really despise this.
really?
I think this is a pile of fucking bullshit.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
It is recycling the same story, and it's tapping into my biggest fear with this is that we had such a great trilogy and a great story and a really nice place where it left off, where it's like the story goes on. You know, like with they reunited, not reunited. They've got a new owner with this new character, the little girl, and it's kind of like right off into the sunset. And now we're getting this whole bullshit, and he's going on another adventure, and it seems so like it just seems so corporatized, leaning into the Toy Story brand, and it just doesn't feel authentic to me.
That's fair. My favorite Toy Story films are ones that aren't about lost toys going to a new location, meeting new friends, and then somehow getting back to, oh, wait, they're all the same. So what the fuck makes this any different?
It feels a lot more similar to the first one, at least in the presentation in this one.
I mean, it's very similar to the third. Well, he
gets stolen in the first one. Okay, so he gets stolen in the yard sale. This one, he's like trying to go rescue.
The second
like
one.
the second one.
Yeah, so
it feels like he's actually going to rescue. Like, that's fair enough. That's a fair. They're all about this. The bullet points are the same, but I feel like there's just something about this that just seems so inauthentic, and I'm really not looking forward to this. And I feel like it's going to be a Finding Dory, and we'll see what happens. I was completely wrong about Alita Battle Angel. I'll admit when I'm wrong. But this one smells like some old bullshit to me.
I don't know. I mean, it's weird because I was going to come into this a little bit critical, but I can't help feel off the back of that I kind of have to defend this trailer now because I feel.
Because I love it.
No, it's because
the people's champion.
I thought that this trailer was far more authentic than I thought it was going to be. Like I walked into this kind of. As soon as I heard, and this was years ago, like pretty much right after that 3 came out, that they were doing 4, like I was immediately against it. I was like, oh, please don't do it. Like it's such a risk. But I mean, they have proven again and again and again with this with the trilogy and this series in general that they have some level of care and concern for this franchise. And I think that, I mean, from what the production has kind of come out with, like Tom Hanks and all that, I can't help but feel that they're do their best to provide an authentic an experience. I mean, I don't know. It would seem bizarre for them to just trash can it in for some dollars right at the end.
Yeah, I don't think they're not trying to do. I don't think they're actively going out there and being like, we're going to sabotage this thing and we don't give a fuck. Like, it's not like Monsters University 2. I think the decision making behind actually pushing go on this whole project is inauthentic.
Okay, I'll agree with that, but I mean,
and I think that's a trickle. That waterfall is trickling down through all the creatives. I'm looking at the final presentation.
I would have said that for number 3 as well.
And Pixar's, I think a lot of the higher ups have left more recently. A lot of the people who maybe were there to really help shepherd the third one into being something special. Where you're saying this choice is kind of cascading down to these other people who sure are working with the best of intentions, but
I mean, I don't know anything about Pixar's structure, so I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
But there's just something that I'm just not interested in this.
So the trailer itself, I didn't love particularly, but I do think Woody's asking a lot of interesting questions in this that if they do take a more interesting angle that isn't just retreading what's happened before, if they really do something surprising like they did in the third one and the places that went, maybe something really interesting could come out of this. So as it is, if it just plays out strictly like it looks like it will, like another rehash, then it's going to take a lot to convince me they shouldn't have left it at 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anything short of near perfection, people are going to say that they should have left it at 3, which they probably should have. But now that they have press go, I can't help but feel more secure with this since seeing the trailer than before. Because I think that, I don't know, like you said, Ben, there was a couple of kind of more deep questions that Woody was asking that I thought are going to hit some of the more, I guess, interesting questions that you could ask in this universe in general. Like, I mean, the fucking
not to mention
spork,
why is a spork alive?
Well,
the
spork itself,
and the ventriloquist dummies. Does that mean ventriloquist dummies are fucking alive in this universe? Because that is terrifying.
Well, that was one thing. They've obviously taken.
That was my favorite.
They look really cool. Yeah.
They've obviously taken the monkey and been like, oh, that scared a fair few people. Let's fucking ramp it up. You think you were scared of number 3?
R.L. Stein, come in, baby.
Find that monkey much creepier. Holy crap.
I think that there is room in this one to really provide, because I mean, if you look at this whole thing, Woody has always been this real like optimist, and he seems to be, like he even says in the trailer, like I don't remember it being this hard. Like he's obviously running into things that he just seems like a more mature and kind of more reflective character, and I think that could be really interesting. So look, I'm willing to give it a chance. And I think that I approached the trailer with an open mind, and to be honest, I don't think it's that bad of a trailer. I think that's a massive overreaction to say that it's this giant pile of shit.
Yeah, no, it might very well be an overreaction. There's just nothing in here that maybe I am so protective of that original trilogy because in my opinion that is the greatest trilogy of all time.
It's certainly up there, yeah.
And this one is just going to be the little 6.5 out of 10, little fucked up, one that you kind of have to remember, and it just brings the average down.
It's going to be the Sporky of the Toy Story.
And I'm just like, how many?
It's going to be
how many more interesting stories do we have to have with these characters that we almost saw perish in that final one? Like that was a gut wrenching emotional moment.
Yeah,
in that final one,
it's going to be the Hobbit to the Lord of the Rings.
It could very well be. It could very well be.
All right. Well, speaking of the greatest trilogy of all time, let's segue very smoothly into John Wick Chapter 3. I think I know how you felt about number 2, Ben, but I'm going to ask anyways. How did you feel about number 2 before we jump into this?
I liked it. I got to watch it again. A lot of people liked it more than me. I think probably what it was lacking was just that surprise factor of the first one, which is really like
the novelty of it. Yeah,
really, really kind of came out of nowhere, and was just this awesome fucking renaissance for Keanu Reeves, who everyone kind of really likes in general. I think. Yeah. Nowadays.
I agree with that. I think that the second one. I was thinking about this as I was watching the third trailer, thinking like, what did the first one have that the second one didn't really have? It was this kind of like simplicity of purpose. Like it was this it was just this kind of bizarrely wonderful story about a guy that loses a dog and just decides to go on a murder rampage because of it. Like it's so, as you said, it's so surprising. It's so kind of novel.
Well, it was so full of, all these little world building moments that you really weren't expecting going in. You were expecting a pretty run of the mill action movie.
Yeah.
And it just turned into this comic book universe that felt really fleshed out and lived in.
Yeah.
And then the second one continued that and expanded it a bit, but it just wasn't a shock.
The second one felt a little bit more gimmicky. Like everything just felt a little less like whenever anyone was like, "Oh my God, it's John Wick," you're like, "Yeah, we did that in the first one." and the kind of the world building,
You knew what to expect.
Yeah, the world building didn't quite feel as inventive. So beyond that, the third one that we just seen a trailer for, I'm actually pretty excited for this.
Yeah, me too.
I am a little worried that they're going to follow what seems to be a pretty stock standard formula for sequels, which is let's just make the same movie except bigger and better and louder and more violent. And I really hope they don't go down that route, because I would feel like that would be a real shame if it was just a bigger action film.
I don't think it looks like it's still got the same down to earth style. There's no. I mean,
there's ninjas on bikes with swords.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no like him diving off a building or like him jumping off a plane, or I didn't have that Mission Impossible. Like that's what I like about the
Fast and Furious. Like, escalation of skills.
I like that about this franchise is that it's a bit more hand to hand combat and a little bit more in camera, and I think that's been one of the successful things about this. And it seems to be keeping the same thing. Like there's nothing novel in this one. It's nothing like crazy. But if you're into John Wick, which I much prefer the first one to the second one. I think the second one was a pretty severe drop. Some good little moments though. But this one, it just looks like I'm going to be there. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be incredible. It's going to be cool.
I like how this is shaping up to be like just 6 straight hours in John Wick's life that kind of suck that he has to deal with. Like it really feels like one continuous story. Like the second one didn't feel like a remake of the first one. This looks like it's continuing on and doing other stuff as well.
I guarantee you we're getting John Wick 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I think they've said that they'll keep making them as long as people come seeing them.
100%.
And I think that's cool. I don't think there was a drop in quality with the second one. I just don't think it was a surprise for me. Really.
Should we move on?
Let's move on then. So next we have Lucy in the Sky, which when we watched this trailer, what came up was Lucy 2. And when we started watching this, I hadn't seen that you had actually pressed Lucy in the Sky. So I thought we were watching the trailer for the sequel to Lucy and was fucking weirded out and shit.
Fuck.
Right up until the point where you were like, is this nonfiction? And Ben answered yes. I was like, sorry, what the fuck?
Yeah, just like the first one.
No, this seems to be about a woman astronaut.
So you guys asked me
fictional.
You guys asked me what the true story was behind this. And I said, you guys know it, but I didn't want to tell you what it was. I'll give you 2 words, and I think you'll remember what this is. Adult diapers.
Huh?
You guys don't remember this story about the astronaut woman who drove cross country and was in such an insane frame of mind that she wore adult diapers the whole way so she didn't have to stop driving?
Wow, no.
No.
Okay, well, spoilers then. I can't believe you never heard of this story.
Thanks for educating me.
Yes, that's amazing. So this
Where
is...
can I get it?
Is it weird that you've just said adult diapers to 2 grown men and then just like looked at you and been like, what?
Well, you do
It's
not,
like I'm wearing one.
yeah, you clearly don't know about my other job.
Usually just being at work and just being like, deal with that one.
Yeah, I can.
You must live a great life.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So this is from Noah Hawley, who is like, I absolutely champion this guy. He's behind a few of my favorite TV shows, Fargo and Legion. He's the showrunner for. Have you guys seen either? I know you haven't seen Legion.
I've seen Fargo about half of season 1.
Yeah, cool. I love that show to death, all 3 seasons. And Legion, I've only watched the first season because I heard really weird things about the second. But
that's supposed to be fantastic. The X-Men one.
It was so weird and just so trippy, and you kind of get a sense of that from this trailer. That
it
looks really
psychedelic,
abstract. Yeah. So I don't know what this is going to be exactly, but I'm keen for it.
Yeah, I thought this looked really great.
I love true stories with a bit more of a stylistic flourish. I think that's really important.
It's got a very distinct look to it that I am really digging. I'm not sure what it is. It's kind of like they're layering space with the real world. Like that shot of them on the bed or something floating through space. There's some very cool imagery in this. I'm quite excited for it.
And it looks like another great character piece for Natalie Portman, who was so terrific in Jackie. I don't know if either you guys saw, but that was really good, that one.
Yeah, she's really great.
Although I just in general really like Natalie Portman. What was it? Annihilation was last year.
Yeah.
Which I thought she was spectacular.
Her agent seems to get her really good roles, like Black Swan, Annihilation. Like that kind of stuff is really in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I like her. She
No
just
strings
seems-
attached.
Control.
Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
The Phantom Menace.
You really love making points and then just immediately destroying them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
No, I
just
completely
don't
agree.
bring up counter arguments,
I
and then we're all
think-
good.
If you don't disagree with me, I can just say what I want.
I think she picks really interesting work.
She
I
does.
completely agree.
Yeah, I was right. So
Yeah.
All right. So next we have. I have nothing to say about this. Stranger Things 3. I've never watched a single
let's go
episode
in,
of.
Benny. What do you think of this?
Stranger
I was
Things.
really counting on Connor to be the guy to talk about this. Stranger Things feels like one of those things you
It
would
feels
love.
like you would love that shit.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Have you
It's
heard
just-
what you watch?
It's got Connor written all
feels
over
like,
it.
Can we just?
hey guys,
not?
it's Friday night, so I got to stay in and watch all the new Stranger Things.
Oh, the new Stranger Things out, man.
I don't know. This was one of those films that, or sorry, one of these TV shows that. I remember it coming out on Netflix, and then I remember everyone going bananas for it, and I just couldn't bring myself to
You're
give
such a
shit.
counterculture guy.
I mean, I am and I'm not. It's weird. There's movies that that have that I have no business in liking that I really like, and then there's like things that I should like that I'm just like no.
Yeah, checks out.
Yeah, no. The vibe I got it from it was kind of like a Dirk Gently vibe, but I'd much rather watch Dirk Gently than that. I found, I don't know, this just seems meh.
I'm a massive fan of season 1. I thought that was a very successful show, and I believe that they planned on only one season.
Yep, it was meant to be an anthology series.
And then season 2 came around, and I was 2 episodes in, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I'm done. I'm done here.
I can't say exactly. I think that might have gone around 2 episodes into season 2 as well.
And I was like, "This is so. This story doesn't need to be told. They didn't need to tell this story."
Yeah.
Thanks, no thanks. And this trailer looks like more of the same. And the kids are old, and they're going through that Harry Potter as Azkaban Goblet of Fire. Like, you were such a cute little kid, and now you're this awkward teenager.
Yeah.
They're just going through that ugly duckling phase, and it just feels so off center. And I just don't know if there's a story to be told here. I won't be checking this out.
Yeah, good on you, everyone who's excited for it. If you really love the first 2, I found the reaction to them to be a little over the top and a little like, I was right in the heart of that 80s boom where everyone was like, 80s nostalgia.
Yeah. It's
and
like synth pop intros.
Yeah, I love that intro, by the way. But
it's a
but
great
yeah,
intro.
people freaked out so hard for it. I'm like, this is okay. Did
It was-
anyone else watch 9 seasons of The X-Files? Because that was like worse and better in various parts.
But the thing about this was because it was streaming service was just taking hold.
Yeah.
And it was
And that was one of the kind of the flagship. It was like
Perfect
Yeah.
it was
storm.
House of Cards to begin with,
And
and then it was
Stranger
kind of like
Things.
Stranger Things.
And it had like that melting pot Spielberg with the 80s vibe and the Ghostbusters, and it appealed to everyone's sensibilities, and it did it well.
Good to
I stand
see-
by that first season.
Good to see they're still ripping off old movies hardcore with
The
that Close
Thing?
Encounters of the third
Yeah.
kind, all the toys walking through the
Yeah,
room.
what about The Thing as well? That last scene was totally ripped off. That last monster.
Yeah, I guess.
Like a really bad CGI version.
Yeah, the CGI in the first season was really bad.
Awful.
Because I watched
Remember that
I watched
creature?
the first season in like
God.
480p because my internet was really fucked up at the time.
God. Yeah,
So-
half of that you wouldn't be able to tell what the fuck was going on.
No, I couldn't. And
Because you couldn't tell at 1080p what was going on.
and I didn't realize that the CGI looked that bad. I assumed it must be better.
terrible.
Yeah, that's a shame. Anyway,
Next up.
All right, next up we have Twilight Zone, which we didn't actually watch. Never mind.
We supposed to. I was like, is he going to skip it? Like,
No,
is he,
I just kind of looked at what was next, and I just.
You're like Ron Burgundy. Like, a whale's
We
vagina.
keep getting Twilight Zone trailers that we can't find on YouTube and mean to watch on Instagram and then forget to watch before we start recording.
It's against protocol.
I watch them after the show and I think this looks great every time. So yeah, I'm
excited.
keen, very keen.
Sorry about that. I've got one fucking job.
And also, just quickly, Jordan Peele's Us, highest box office opening for a non-remake or franchise-based horror film in the USA.
Didn't he have that for
Very nice.
his
Get Out?
previous one, Get Out?
Quite possibly.
Or like Get Out broke some kind of record
There's
for like
plenty of records for that one too.
yeah.
But
so
this is looking very promising. I haven't watched any reviews. I don't know anything about it.
I've heard some favorable stuff coming out, but I mean,
Thursday.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I'm already planning to see this twice on the first day. I don't want to even talk about it.
well, I don't have like 2 seconds to watch it until like the weekend, so I won't hear anything. So
I'll be calling you up. Yeah, don't worry.
if you, I'm just gonna mute our conversation.
Like you ever to answer my phone
I'm
calls.
literally
Anyway.
going to put a message in our chat. Like,
Do you know what? I texted Ben the other day, and I realized that the last text I sent him was like 6 years ago or something.
2012.
Oh yeah.
Hey, he's coming to the Reach.
Best part was my response. Who's this?
Yeah. New phone. Who this? I'm like, you know damn well who it is.
5-year-old phone. Who's this?
Brilliant. Well done.
No, you knew.
We communicate over Facebook for the
You made the
record.
cut.
Well, I mean, I see you all the time.
Yeah, so much, too much.
Too much.
I just wait the week and I ask you to your face. Old school, man. Old school.
Yeah, actually, really. Well, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, we're here. Happy Patrick's Day. Cheers.
Next we have Deadwood. Did any of you watch the Deadwood series?
Yeah, I watched it
way back when.
Yeah, when like DVD box sets were a big thing. I remember buying all them and watching through the series. That was probably the densest series I'd ever seen at the time. One of the most adult. So great.
Yeah.
HBO when they were really pioneers.
I was gonna say the one of the two big series that are on my list to finally get to, and it's one of those things where it's like it's not going anywhere, so we'll eventually get there. Is Deadwood and Rome, which are those like I have distinct memories of just what you said, which was those big DVD box sets. And one was Deadwood and the other one was Rome. And I remember always seeing them being like, those would be cool to watch.
What about Sopranos? That's on my list.
Sopranos, I don't know. I understand like the kind of iconic nature of the Sopranos, but for some reason it's never been a series that's like kind of struck me as you need to watch this.
Sopranos is
but like
getting long in the tooth now. It's hard to go back though.
Yeah, Deadwood and Rome are like they're in my wheelhouse. This shit that I absolutely love. Like I love westerns and I love like old medieval.
You'd love Rome, but you really have to prepare yourself for the fact that that show just gets canned after the second season, like unceremoniously.
Yeah.
So you'd have to know that going in, I think. Deadwood though is so special. I can't believe this. You know, this trailer's very brief. There's not much to it, but I cannot believe how much Al Swearingen and Seth Bullock look exactly the same.
Yeah.
What's his name? Timothy Olyphant.
I was going to say Timothy Olyphant looks, well, because I'm currently watching Justified, he looks fucking unrecognizable. I'm like, where's his southern drawl? Where's his clean shit? Like, where's
his
wrong
charm?
hat?
Where's his soul? Yeah, so I don't know if this will be any good all these years after the show ended, but I'll definitely give it a go.
Probably say it won't be.
Correct.
I don't know why
Yeah.
I'd say that, but
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I don't know what it is about Ian McShane, but I'll watch him in anything.
Hell yeah.
He's I did like
Except
Yeah, he looked
Pirates of the
badass
Caribbean
in
4
them.
again.
no, fuck it, I'll watch him. Like I'll make me a supercut of just Ian McShane.
No, he looks fucking cool in
Al
John
Swearingen.
Wick with the whiskey glass.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
that was
Al
cool.
Swearingen in Deadwood, I keep thinking Deadpool, is one of the all-time great TV characters.
Weren't you with the whiskey guys? You were talking about John Wick.
John Wick, yeah.
Yeah.
I said John Wick.
Not okay. All right.
Jay Wick.
All right. So let's move on to the last one. We can wrap this up pretty quickly, I think, on this
think
last
so,
one.
yeah.
Dora and the Lost City of Gold. I think the only reason this is on the list is because it came out today, and it just seems kind of bizarre. I don't know about you guys, but I just got a Spy Kids vibe out of it, and that's probably all you need to say. Like Spy Kids, if we watched it now, would be absolutely shit. But at the time, fucking loved that shit.
Nope.
You didn't like Spy Kids when it first came out.
I never watched any Spy Kids movies. I was
there
not
you go.
interested.
Yeah, I haven't either.
They look
I
terrible.
can't believe. Oh,
Shark
sorry.
Boy
Are
and
you
Lava
saying that-
Girl.
Are you saying that you had like such refined taste when
No,
you
I
were
was watching like The
6?
Godfather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and fuck both of you.
Yeah.
I was watching Deadwood at the time. I put this in here because this is just so bizarre. Fucking
Yeah.
Dora the Explorer has a movie like this that simultaneously looks like a big
Nickelodeon just
production and
churning
also
it
just
out?
really shitty. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they're just churning it.
the sad part of it is it's directed by James Bobbin, who's someone I really like. This is a Flight of the Conchords guy who did the Muppets movies, the recent ones.
No.
And
Oh, dear.
I'll be that guy's corner. I think he's really cool. And there is a slight tinge of character in this trailer. I think this is one moment where you see her going to school and there's like all these guards checking everyone's bags. Like that's a weird thing to be in a Dora the Explorer movie. And they're pulling out all their weapons and shit. I'm like, that's an interesting angle for them to take. It doesn't look like they're following through on that at all. But yeah.
There it is.
Next.
All right. So that's our trailers. Now we have question of the week.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ben, I know that you want to take charge of this one. Do you want me to read the question and you can take it from there? Or you want
Go for it.
All right. So this got sent in by our boy, Tristan Meyers.
T-Bone.
Hey, man.
Thanks,
Miss you, bro.
Yeah, no. He moved away. It's very
Yeah.
sad. So his question, I got this, I think, right after our last episode. He said, got a question of the week for you. You guys always complain about the DCEU casting. It was a bit of a sledge there.
Oh, yeah, we
he's
don't miss you, man. Fuck you.
He basically asked, what's everyone's dream casting for the main characters in that universe? So I sent this on to the boys in that text. What was it? Pretty much that night. And I could pretty much hear Ben stiffen up from,
In more ways than one.
Yeah, in more ways.
I did not sleep that night. So I was like, oh, why have I never done this?
He's going to his
Yeah.
room, there's like a scribble all over.
And I mean, red yarn connecting everything.
To be fair, we don't normally do these kind of fan casting type things. But and so I was almost sure that you'd be like, nah, that's not really our wheelhouse to do this casting. But you fucking took a hold of this.
Yeah, I couldn't wait. I stay away from this stuff just because it hurts too much to make these, dreams and know they're never going to happen. Because the DCU is such a weird, shambling mess at the moment. So I was thinking we go through one character at a time and each say our picks.
Let's do it.
Starting with Batman. Connor, what do you think?
That was the hardest one, man.
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest. Mine.
Just say Army Hammer, George. It's fine.
I did mine. So I specifically didn't put Arnie Hammer for
Same.
any of these because if you put him for Superman, then it's just Cavill.
Shit.
So for Batman, I went pretty uninventive John Hamm.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think he's definitely got Bruce Wayne down. Like he just kind of seems like that guy that oozes class. And for me, Batman has to kind of be big enough to like be imposing. I always thought it was kind of a miracle that Christian Bale was able to get big enough to kind of fill out that suit. And I really liked the way that Ben Affleck looked as Batman in Batman vs
BVS.
Superman, not in Justice League.
Not Fat Man.
But so I think that there's some legitimacy to having like a big Batman, and I think that he kind of hits all those markers. He's got like the deep enough voice, to naturally pull off that character.
He's look,
And he's talented.
He's often thrown around, yeah, but he's like the prototypical like Alex Ross, painterly Batman. Like he looks great.
He's
as
got a 50s dad vibe.
yeah.
I mean, it's not
The
not
slick
like
back
it's
hair.
not-
And he can also play unhinged. Well, in Mad Men, wasn't he a bit of an alcoholic? Like,
Oh, he's a douchebag.
yeah, I mean, I can
Yeah.
see him.
Perfect for Batman.
He can get that Batman, like, he can get that, as you said, that class.
Tortured soul.
That really slick, and then that facade behind the facade, really tortured soul, yeah.
There was a BBC series that he did with Daniel Radcliffe. I think it's called The Doctor's Notebook or something, which I watched. God, this would have had to been like maybe 8 years ago. But he plays kind of unhinged in that. And he does it really well. And that was one of, to this day, I think is one of my favorite John Hamm performances. It's also just a really cool, if I can think of the title, I think it's called The Doctor's Notebook. It's
I think you're right. Yeah.
the Russian thing. Anyways,
George,
anyone that hasn't seen it, go check it out. So yeah, John Hamm is my pick.
Good choice. So, I This one's a little bit weird because I've been obsessed with the idea of a Batman of the Future movie.
Yeah.
And this article came up in my feed in Facebook and was like, there was fan casting for bringing Michael Keaton back as old Bruce Wayne, because Batman of the Future set like 50 years, in the future, and Bruce Wayne is kind of like, he's like what's his name? Arthur? What's the butler's name?
Alfred.
Albert.
To Terry McGinnis.
He's kind of like, but he's got that Bruce Wayne like mentorship behind it, which makes it a different dynamic. He's the one in the control room whilst Batman, like the young Batman's off. But Bruce Wayne, he's kind of like, he's manipulating this kid, and there's
what was that old
really
animated one where he's in a wheelchair? Is that the one that you're talking
He's
about?
not in a wheelchair, but he's old Batman.
Oh, he's got a cane. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like I would love to see that continuity, and you don't even need to really reference the old ones. You can just bring it in, and I think I would love to see something done there. And Michael Keaton, he's just so good. Bring him back. And he can be such an arsehole. Like in The Founder, he's such an arsehole. Like, can you imagine him fucking with this kid? Like,
and
there's a really interesting relationship could form from that.
That's such a cool element of Batman that we rarely see in the movies, because he's the hero, is that he is kind of a manipulator. And like, he's a broken dude in that series as well. So that could be really interesting.
Yep.
So unsurprisingly, I put a lot of thought into all of these. And I have two options for some of them. I'm sorry.
I did the same.
And I really tried to boil down every one of these characters into their main essence, or what they mean to me, maybe. So for Batman, who's a character I have mixed feelings about, mainly in the way he's portrayed sometimes. But Batman from the comics is someone who's all about intensity. And so someone who I've not been able to get out of my head for the role. Both of my picks here, I'm going to admit, too skinny for the role, so that knocks out one of your big criterion things, whatever. But
I've never seen him so flustered.
Criteria.
So my ever since I saw Searching, which is just a 90-minute movie about John Cho being a detective who is so laser focused on saving a child. It's his child, of course, but I haven't been able to get his face out of my mind for a Batman. Because we've never seen that detective Batman done really distinctly like that. And I don't know, there's something about him. Like I said, he's kind of a skinny guy, but
Agent Bruce Wayne as well. That would be really cool. That'd be something really different. You could give it a different spin.
Yeah.
Like, you can even recast someone else takes the mantle or do something. But
yeah, well, and also just Batman being a ninja, I guess he doesn't always have to be a full-on tank of a man. But I think just based on his performance in that movie alone, I think he really sold something like that.
Like Wayne Enterprises skyscraper in Shanghai or something. Like, that would be so cool, man.
That could be fucking interesting.
I'm into that.
And my other pick is Dan Stevens from Legion. He played Beast in the Beauty and the Beast remake. This is a guy who has
this. George, you're looking up Dan Stevens.
Yeah, no, please. He's one of my favorite actors. He's got this wild-eyed intensity. Like, he can do crazy like no one else. And I kind of like Batman when he's crazy is just visible behind the eyes a little bit, because Batman is a crazy dude.
He's just a little too Draco Malfoy. He's got that weasel look.
You have to see him in action.
See, I knew that you were going to be a little bit more nuanced in your picks, but I got to say that I can't. I'm just imagining him in a Batman suit, and it's just not working.
My Batman ones are the most different than the character's been portrayed before, I'll admit. So I'm expecting them to be controversial, but Dan Stevens is an actor I really love. He played Legion. I would really like to see him bring something different to that character. Next up, of course, is Superman. Connor, what do you think?
I had a bit of trouble with this one. There's a lot of guys, and I looked at a couple of lists, like who could replace Henry Cavill type
There's
thing.
2 or 3 in this room.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. They're over there.
Everyone that seems to go for Superman just goes for a Henry Cavill lookalike. So Armie Hammer is thrown around left, right, and center.
For Batman?
No, for
and Superman and Wonder Woman, strangely enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple of other people that just they've got the same look, the chiseled jaw and all that kind of stuff. But none of them, or not none of them, but so few of them have anything in the way of kind of like acting talent that would make me really step out, like go like, oh fuck yeah. So the person that I picked, I'm not really set on any of these, but I picked Oscar Isaac. Just because I think he's really talented. And
like a Mediterranean Superman.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, the whole boy from Kansas thing. That was my big kind of my big question about that. Like, he's meant to be like.
So for the record, I've ignored
Midwest.
race for most of my picks. So if we keep getting hung up on this, we're going to be here all night.
Yeah, I mean, like.
But carry on. It's a good pick.
Yeah, I like Oscar Isaac.
in terms of,
but again, the person also needs to be big enough to like fill out the suit. Like both Batman and Superman, out of anyone, need to be imposing and kind of regal. And I like Oscar Isaac how he kind of seems to pull that off.
no, I honestly, in terms of intensity and like the way he's a chameleon. His roles, I feel like are quite distinct from each other. Like you've got Poe, who's like got his thing going on, and then you got his character in Ex Machina, so different. You know, I think, and then Annihilation, that he's doing his own thing there. He can do noble and what Superman needs to be done. I don't know if he's quite got the look for it and the stature, but in terms of chops, he's got it.
Hell yeah.
Mine was. I didn't realize this was so standard. I was like, yeah, this is a pretty novel choice, George. Army Hammer. He's just got that imposing. You know, he's like 6'3", 6'2", something like that. He's got the
Henry
broad
Cavill.
shoulders. And he just doesn't have a fucked up mustache mouth. So he wins.
Arnie Hammer is just Henry Cavill. Like, I mean,
they are the same person.
Henry Cavill's not a bad pick though. So
I mean, no, he's not. And I think a lot of the kind of failure of, or I won't even say failure of Henry Cavill. As
In look, they're very similar. But in portrayal, like if you think of like the brothers in the Social Network versus he's very like I just feel like he can. Armie Hammer, I enjoy watching him on screen.
I've never watched him
a lot
play
more.
anyone else other than the brothers.
He cops up here and there. You know,
as a different character. What's that one that he played with Henry Cavill? It's that
the guy
Man
Ritchie
from
one.
Uncle.
The Man from Uncle.
Man from Uncle. You know, just this kind of like straight-faced Russian, big imposing guy. I felt like it was very similar to what he played in The Lone Ranger. I didn't think. To me, I don't think he has an extraordinary amount of range.
I'm guessing you haven't seen Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah.
Oh no, I haven't. That's right. Because
He's a terrific actor.
And that's put him back in the mix.
And I was about to say,
I'm not saying
actor.
Yeah, I'm not saying he has a huge amount of range either, but he's perfectly like the way he is pretty perfect for Superman.
And I think, and maybe you could put this down to Fincher, but he played two very different people in the Social Network. Like they were two different characters, and you knew which one was which. One was the leader, one was. So maybe that was David Fincher, maybe that was Armie Hammer. Anyway, I think he's a cool choice, and I think he's got the look.
Yeah. So I did not go in the direction you were thinking. Like I went a much more obvious way, I guess, given what you were saying before. My first pick for Superman is both these guys are just kind of the like the fucking. I'm looking for someone who's an Ubermensch, you know, someone who, when they are in the role of Superman, is someone who looks like a human god. So first up, I picked Matt Bomer from the
he's another one that's
the Magic
droning.
Mike movies, and he does look a lot like Henry Cavill. I gotta say,
this is my thing. Like Arnie Hammer, Bowman, like they are two of the most thrown around names next to Cavill, and they look exactly like him. And I feel like that's why I didn't include him.
So Matt Bomer, I've just never been able to get out of my head in the role since I heard that he had attested for it, I think. And again, like I said before, I don't think Cavill was a bad choice, so I don't think someone like him is either. But my other pick is Henry Golding from A Simple Favor and Crazy Rich Asians. He was the male lead in that one. He is another one who just has that look where you're like, holy fuck, this guy is chiseled from stone. Yeah. And both these guys just have like charm to spare, and I think that's something that Cavill's been criticized for not bringing to the role. Not that he doesn't have in real life, obviously, but I would really love to see someone come into this role and really win people over.
He's certainly big enough to do it.
Yeah, Golding's a huge dude.
Fucking chiseled as shit.
Yeah.
It is funny because when we said this, when we first kind of talked about doing this fan casting thing, I made the joke that I'm just going to make all the white people mixed race and like change Wonder Woman to a man, and Cyborg's going to be, all this different kind of stuff. And it seems like you've actually gone that like your casting would cause so much issues. Not that I'm saying it like that it shouldn't, but like, or
What?
that it should. Sorry, it's the other way around. Like, or that it should, but I'm just thinking like in a practical sense, that would the internet would just like fold in on itself.
I was hoping
an Asian Superman.
I was hoping you guys weren't going to bring it up this much, to be honest, because I like not race blind casting, but kind of racially open casting in characters that don't have to be a specific race for a particular reason.
Which is why I kind of brought it up with Oscar Isaac and that, because I feel like the whole Midwestern, or the Midwest Clark Kent from the middle of white America, seems like it kind of seems a bit weird to have him.
Anyone can be a country boy, though. Like,
I mean, like technically, yes. I mean.
Yeah,
you're certainly not wrong. He's an alien. He can look at like whatever the hell he wants. But I guess it's just like there's such an ingrained image in my mind of Superman.
No, I think it's cool. I think diversify it up, man. And I didn't think about it in that way. I'm going for a lot more of the archetypal look. But that can deviate, and we've seen that before. So I think it's cool that you're thinking outside the box.
So closing up the Trinity, Wonder Woman.
So just before we get to that, there was a oh no, that was for Batman. I saw on one of these like websites that was talking about who should play what. Timothy Chalamet, someone put forward for Batman. And I thought that was the most fucking bizarre, and like they really made a case for it. They said
fantastic Robin
is the right age and has the right demeanor to play the Cape Crusader. I was like, in what fucking world?
When he trips over and breaks both wrists.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was such a bizarre thing to see on one of these.
That's things. A troll. That's a troll cast.
No, it was like in a serious article. Well, let's say in quotation marks.
Serious listicle.
Wonder Woman. So for me, I will say I quite like Gal Gadot in that. I think she's a little bit wooden in it. But
wooden or woman?
Wooden.
Wonder Wooden.
Wooden. But overall, I quite like her. Oddly enough,
get him in trouble.
The other two, if I was going to switch up the casting, again, very run of the mill choices for me. One is Scarlett Johansson, and Scarlett Johansson is not only like I've just loved her forever, but also when I think of female kind of action star, she's really risen up in the ranks as someone that has been willing to take on that mantle. Say what you will about the divisiveness of the casting when she was cast in Ghost in the Shell. I thought that kind of suit her brand of the action hero. So yeah, I think Scarlett Johansson could be cool on that, but also someone else that has kind of taken on that mantle as well, which is Charlize Theron. And I mean, if we're talking about intensity and someone that just kind of, Wonder Woman has become this kind of symbol of woman power, and if there's someone that just fucking oozes that shit, it's Charlize Theron.
I think she's a cool pick. Yeah.
Yeah, she could just absolutely nail this.
Yeah. I've kind of tried to. I know this is all fantasy, but we all have our own parameters, I guess. I've tried to kind of stick to people who are young enough to stay in these roles for like an existing franchise. But otherwise, I think she's a fucking awesome pick, Georgie.
I chose two here. First choice was Ana de Armas from Blade Runner 2049. She's a Cuban actor, and she has just this really angelic look.
Yeah,
she's back here, and I think that you could really
for people on the podcast. When he says "back here," it doesn't
the
just mean
the poster
behind
the poster.
No, we've got her in the back.
Yeah, my porn stash in the corner, like a magazine.
Oh, no.
No, fuck off! Why'd you do this?
Why did You're the one that took it to the.
I'm running with the gag, man. I'm running with the gag.
Just immediate betrayal. Sorry, let's move on.
I think that the angelic look that she would bring with the really strong physical presence that they could bring through is something that I would really like to see on screen. And I just think, I think she's. I really liked her in Blade Runner 2049, and I haven't seen her in much else, so I'd like to see her in more. And then the other choice I have is Denai Guerrera from Black Panther, Okoye.
Yeah, she's an awesome rising star.
I think like that scene in Infinity War, spoilers, when Black Panther is like melting and she turning to dust and she's holding his hand, like her reaction is by far the best, man. And she is such a badass in those movies. I would like to see more of that physical presence of that character or that actor, sorry.
Yeah.
So I think those are my two choices. So quite distinct. One a lot more sort of dainty, angelic that would have that physical, you'd have to inject that, and somebody who would from the get-go have more of that physical presence, but just a really convincing portrayal.
And this is a complete segue, but just going to challenge you on the most impactful of the floating away. How's that not Robert Downey Jr. and poor little Spider-Man?
Robert's pretty stoic in that scene.
But
more the reaction from the character
I
than the audience reaction.
For me, I found his kind of reserved. But
I think it was more about Spider-Man.
Oh no, that was. But I think I don't know.
Then Tony Stark.
That was more impactful to me. Like watching him just kind of like look away in disbelief. Like his whole thing was about like, don't get this kid hurt, and like his just kind of utter disbelief that it's fine, like that it's happened, that he died.
I guess
I don't know. This is such a segue. Sorry, I wasn't going to let that.
No, I think just hers, just like she in her eyes, she just had like complete disbelief that this guy that is my number one priority has just vaporized.
Sells it in half a second. My picks for Wonder Woman are strikingly similar to yours, Georgie.
Yep.
And on a side note, I wanted to cast Anna de Armas somewhere in this list, but we only have one woman to cast, which is such a bummer. But
so
I picked first up a very obvious pick, someone who I was kind of wanted to get the role before they announced when Gal Gadot got it. Jamie Alexander, Lady Sif from the Thor movies. I think is again an obvious choice because she is playing a very Wonder Woman-like character in that Wonder Woman light. But I think she just sells it so well, and we got so little of her in those movies. I think it would be cool to see her as a very stereotypical version of the character, and also an actor who blew me away twice last year, Cynthia Erivo. She was the soul singer from El Royale. What's that movie called?
Oh yeah.
Bad Times at the El Royale. And she was also the late addition to the crew in Widows. So when I think of Wonder Woman, I think of two things. I think of strength, power, and warmth. And I think this woman in these two roles conveyed both of those things so well, and in so very different roles. Her in Widows, she's like a physical. My God, she looks more badass than most of the guys in these movies.
Intense.
And I think I've always thought that was something that I felt that Gal Gadot maybe just didn't quite get across. Was just like pure, like that kind of
warmth.
Yeah, it was just a little bit wooden, as I said.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think she I'm not saying she did a terrible job, but there was something that I could have felt like.
Her line readings are pretty.
She
stiff
ticks
sometimes.
the physicality box. She doesn't tick that warmth box that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I would say that like Cynthia Erivo does both better. Next up, I have Aquaman here.
So, George, I think we took a very kind of similar vein on this. I just kept Momoa.
Was that cowardly vote?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? No.
I don't know. I really liked the casting of Momoa.
He's really made the role his own.
I don't know how. I honestly, I don't know how else you can do it.
I think that out of the, it's kind of ticked all the boxes for me. In terms of like, if I was going to go back to the kind of the original stylizing of Aquaman, I would think of someone like, I guess, like Chris Pratt or something like that. But I don't see him doing a better job than Momoa. I think that is really spot on casting.
Yeah, I think it's insane that the fact that Aquaman's the highest grossing, the fact that Aquaman grossed more than Justice League means that they did something right there. And I really don't think you can do Aquaman. It's so hard to get right. I can't believe they got it right.
It would be like
to
trying
that
to
degree.
recast Iron Man at this point.
I
well,
just-
no, not quite. Sorry, not quite.
I
like
think
that,
even
but-
more. I think even tougher than that.
Really?
Maybe. I mean, like it's just so.
Because I said that and then
Yeah.
immediately regretted it. Don't follow me down this.
I don't know.
don't
I
come up
just
on this hill and die with
I
me.
just think like Iron Man could have worked with a few other people. You know, Aquaman is just that much harder. Like the sandbox that you're in is just that much harder
I
to
don't
get
know.
right.
I think Iron Man is such a downy character.
It is.
Like it feels like that. I mean, everyone
He
kind of
is-
says
he
that
is-
he is Tony
yeah.
Stark type thing.
I don't
Anyways.
know. I just can't think of anyone else that you could do.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you guys to an extent, although I don't think the casting of Momoa was done in any way to try and capture the actual character of Aquaman. Like there's no resemblance to the comics.
None.
So I went with someone who I thought would be better at being the king of Atlantis. I look for someone extremely, regal and a much more serious version of the character. Not someone who I think could headline a film, because I don't think, my version of the DC universe, they're not making an Aquaman movie. That was a weird choice in the first place. So I went with Lee Pace, because I think he can do Kingly.
Yeah.
I think he can do it well. And I want to see more of this guy, because I think he's been really underserved by...
Captain Marvel, but
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is so little. But I'm thinking more of like Thranduil from The Hobbit, not that style, but just...
he does have that kind of, I know what you mean, it's almost ethereal grace to him.
So I guess my main point was thinking, like, what if these movies go down the path one day, there's rising tensions between the Amazons and Atlantis, and they go to war. Like, I want to see these two, like, warlords, and I think he could do that.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
And next up we have The Flash.
This is a weird one.
Uh-oh.
I picked Daniel Radcliffe.
Okay.
Just because I think that, oddly enough, the two actors that look very similar, Elijah Wood and Daniel Radcliffe, they've both, subsequent to their kind of main franchise films, have gone on to a little bit more wackier characters throughout their career. And I thought that they've both really pulled them off very well. And I love Daniel Radcliffe when he does his weirder stuff. Like, I think he's, particularly, he's very self-effacing, and he obviously has like really good comedic timing, and this almost kind of like awkward young person type vibe. And I think that would work really well from what I know of The Flash. And I think he would do a far better job of it than Ezra Miller. I don't really like Ezra Miller as the Flash.
You must have seen Swiss Army Man based on what you were just saying.
No, and it's
You
one of
haven't
those
seen
ones
that?
I know I need to get it to it. And
Fucking
that's
amazing. It's just
so
it's
good.
based on the compliments you're putting on him, which I completely agree with. I'm like,
yeah.
the only place I've seen him do all of this is in Swiss Army Man.
Incredible film.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, the BBC series that I was mentioning before, the one about the Russian doctor, he kind of does that as well. Like, I don't know. His career post Harry Potter has just really impressed me. So I think he could do a really good Flash.
That's a fun pick.
I thought of that pick.
Oh, did you?
But I thought of it first.
Yeah.
But then I went with, why don't we get authentic with this shit and go for Usain Bolt, the fastest man on earth.
We can skip this one.
Let's
Ben, you go.
Let's do this.
That's dumb. Ben, just give us
You know
your
what?
pick.
I had such a problem with this. I quite like Ezra Miller in this, and after seeing We Need to Talk About Kevin, I haven't seen that much of him on screen, and I'd like to see more of him. So
Do you
I
not
will
remember
stick
seeing
with.
him in
Fantastic
Fantastic
Beasts?
Beasts?
Yeah, I've
No, I
erased
don't.
that. I've erased
Well,
that from my mind.
You do now, so Ben,
He's barely in that fucking movie, bro.
he's a main character in it.
the main character for about a minute.
So I was just looking at my picks here. I think what I've actually done is cast a Barry Allen and a Wally West, which is kind of the more grown-up
what?
Flash, the original Flash, and kind of the younger, funnier one. So for Barry Allen, I've got here Alexander Skarsgård, who I mostly just wanted to cast as anyone in this universe.
Is
And-
he too big though?
No, he looks like a runner. He's very lithe looking, I think.
He's tall though.
Yeah, Yeah, totally. I think that's a good run. I think you got to cast someone who can actually run, which Ezra Miller cannot. You guys remember him in Justice League with that weird like loping? Oh man!
Let's go again on that, Ezra.
Yeah, and I think he kind of has a good Barry Allen look. And for Wally West, I went with Zac Efron for some reason. I don't remember why, but I just think
I looked at him as well to pull a George moment.
I think he could.
Me too.
He would just work so well in an ensemble piece. This is a guy who, we all knew initially as being the High School Musical guy, kind of a joke, and then he's kept giving these performances. I'm like, this guy's so funny.
He's funny, and do you know what? He's actually got some pretty serious acting chops.
Totally. I can't wait for that movie whose title I will never know, Extremely Vile and Shockingly Wicked or whatever it's called, the Ted Bundy movie.
Yeah, that looks bizarre.
I'm keen to see him in that.
Yeah.
So that's me for The Flash. Next up, Cyborg.
Very stock standard. I went Michael B. Jordan.
Go.
I don't think there's any explanation needed on that. He's kind of a major star, and he fits the
you
profile.
want him in here somewhere.
Yeah.
I went.
There aren't a lot of choices for black actors in this ensemble, so a lot of people are calling for him to be Superman, but I don't see him as Superman, and it has nothing to do with the color issue that a lot of people have made us think about. It's more that I just don't his kind of, I've never seen him in a role that makes him seem like Superman. I don't know how to describe it.
I think maybe when he's older, he could step into those shoes. I haven't seen him kind of play that type of character, but yeah.
I had an interesting challenge here with the Green Lantern and Cyborg decision. So I had three actors kind of rotating through these, but I've ended up on John Boyega for Cyborg.
Cool.
I think I would love to see him in a superhero movie, and he can create that vulnerability that Cyborg needs. I feel like he just has the chops to make that happen, and he's big enough. He's got that size and the breadth to make that physicality work for him. So I would really like to see him in a superhero film.
I didn't think of him for anything. He's a great pick. That dude is a movie star through and through. Ever since Attack the Block.
I've got to rewatch that.
What did I watch recently? I think this is after you, off the back of your recommendation. I don't think I ever told you
Detroit?
Detroit, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, what a fucking movie.
He's so good in that, isn't he?
Oh,
I've only heard good
he is
things.
spectacular. Actually,
Yeah,
everyone
nice.
in that is really spectacular.
Nice.
But
He's so young Denzel in that film. It's
God, he is,
so
isn't he?
brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I got to watch that.
It's a
yeah, check it out, man.
distressing film, but
And
a good one.
it got surprisingly little coverage. I think.
Very little.
Yeah, it just kind of came and went, and I reckon that's one that people need to pay a little bit more attention to.
So speaking of for Cyborg, I thought for one of mine, John David Washington, Denzel's son, who we just saw in Black Klansman.
Great choice.
I think the dude,
I had him
him
in
as-
this. I had him in this.
Yeah.
I always figured
Nice.
him as a little bit. Oh yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, that would work.
I don't know. There's a depth to that dude that I think could be really good for this character who is kind of a tortured soul, kind of the Frankenstein's monster of the team.
He showed he could do that in Black Klansman for sure.
And I'd like to see what he could do. On the other side of that character, kind of more of the jokey Teen Titans version, I thought Donald Glover would be so fun to have in this universe.
God, wouldn't he though? What a fucking! I can't believe I didn't even think of Donald Glover.
And
for
he
this.
could do the end credits rap for the movie, which would be sick. So yeah, this would be a different interpretation to that one.
Yeah, that's much better.
And just side note here, Cyborg is one of the least needing to be recast characters. I think he was one of the worst executed in Justice League, but I think they found a really good actor for him.
I agree. He wasn't
didn't
given
get
much
an
to work
opportunity.
with, right?
Yeah. Next up, Green Lantern.
So, for this one, I put someone that I thought had a good mix of kind of superhero and comedic elements. So I picked John Cho.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I figured that I thought that he'd do really well in that. I think he's got the comedic chops. That's where he comes from, and that's where most people know him.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I can really see him, blending, someone with serious acting chops and someone that I just really enjoy seeing on screen with that witty level of humor.
Yeah.
Which I think to be honest, I think Ryan Reynolds was really well cast as Green Lantern. I just think that was horrifically executed.
I think he was very poorly cast. And I don't think
That's not
John
the Green
chose.
Lantern I know, yeah.
I don't think John chose much of a Hal Jordan, but I think you've maybe unwittingly come across a perfect Kyle Rayner, who I think was the fourth Green Lantern in continuity, who was around for a long time for some big Justice League runs, and I think he'd be pretty spot on for that.
Yeah, that kind of. You got the fourth best Green Lantern nailed.
No, he's the third best Green Lantern.
Thank you, Ben.
So I grew up on the Justice League cartoon with John Stewart.
Yeah.
And so that's Green Lantern for me.
So John Stewart has to be the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. So there we go. Benny, Green Lantern. So I had initially in my head Idris Elba. I thought he would be really cool. But then I thought
on.
John David Washington, I'd really like to see him. He was just so good in Black Klansman. Once again, just another guy I want to see in a superhero movie. Simple as that. And he can do that stoic thing that Green Lantern had. Like he was he wasn't like a comedic like a Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. It was a completely different character.
Oh, he's kind of
he was
an
a
arsehole.
guardian. He just held his own. He was like a badass.
He was bad cop.
I should say I have no real kind of affinity with Green Lantern, so I'm kind of shooting in the dark here. And my impression of Green Lantern was always kind of a little bit like the Flash, like a bit kind of witty and that.
I think he's like a guardian of the universe. You know, I think
He's a
got
cop.
like
He's a space cop.
yeah, he's kind of like he's got a
bit
lot
more
on his
serious.
shoulders. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's interesting because
Yeah.
I really have no
And again,
kind of frame
it
of reference for
depends.
that.
It depends which one you pick.
I mean, there's fucking 8
Yeah.
of them, as he just
Apparently,
said.
yeah.
So I mean, take your pick.
So for me, the kind of guy who's really fit into the role in the animated universe that's really stuck with me is Nathan Fillion. He's played him a lot of times. So I really have that kind of cocky flyboy,
He
funny
could
guy
work,
in my head.
100%.
So he's not who I'm picking, George.
He could work.
He-
Connor.
No, he does
Martian
work.
Manhunter.
He does work because he does play the character. So when I thought cocky flyboy, I'm like, who have we seen play a fucking great cocky flyboy? Oscar Isaac. I think he should be in here somewhere, and I think he could really work as that kind of funny guy who you can see is taking it seriously underneath.
He's got that Poe Dameron like kind of.
Yeah, and like I said, I would just want him somewhere in here. So next up, getting towards the end, Martian Manhunter.
I didn't pick anyone for
Fair enough.
this means nothing to me.
I got Guy Pearce here.
Pearce.
I thought he's just the guy who popped out. I can see him with the full makeup on. I mean, we've seen it in Prometheus. So
So he
Yeah.
can sit in the chair. He's a bit of a chameleon. That's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think of anyone else, and this seemed to just immediately pop into my head. So
Okay, I
went with
went with so Manhunter's he's a pretty serious dude. He's kind of a sort of monotone. He's lost all of the other Martians. He's the last of his kind, or sometimes. And I wanted someone who could really bring that intensity to the role. I thought of Mahershala Ali, who
fuck, he'd be a good Green Lantern as well. He'd be a good Jon Stewart.
yeah, but in particular, I thought he does have an otherworldliness about him, and I reckon he could just be such a great presence in that alien role.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like his speech at the Oscars,
His
he had
voice,
that
especially.
that otherworldliness. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
that
so-
presence.
And the best part is this character has not been cast in any films, so this could happen.
I'd love to see that.
So next up, Shazam. Did anyone do?
No,
I like who they have, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's me all
I'm
done
so
there.
keen for that movie. Well, I got a couple more here. So strap in.
I've got Joker and Lex Luthor.
Go. So for
I
Shazam,
got Seth Rogen.
Shazam. some people. So the guy who I wanted for Shazam before he got cast was Terry Crews, because I thought he could do that
Holy
just
fuck.
exuberant man-child, larger than life.
yeah.
Like he's the biggest dude in the world, but he's a child, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
that
that's
would
really
be
fun.
fun.
And then in that
And
vein,
he's
I
jacked
thought,
as fuck.
yeah, and in that vein again, I thought John Cena, I think, could also bring that same energy.
Totally.
So I
And his
it's gonna be
comedic
cool.
timing.
I mean, to
He's
be
on
honest,
point.
and
Yeah.
this almost sounds too convenient, but The Rock could pull that off as well. I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely. Yeah. He's Black Adam though.
Yeah, well, sorry.
the one role we're not recast.
Yeah.
So Joker, Connor.
I had a couple here.
Joker. Well, what other ones have we got?
The Joker and Lex
Joker and
Luthor
Lex
is the only-
Luthor. I said this before
Yes.
we went in.
So
Hurry
I've,
up,
I've
George.
actually got 4. One of them is more of a joke than the others.
4.
My joke was Ben Schwartz. just as like
That'd be awesome.
yeah.
I
But
like.
I don't think he could I don't think he could play evil enough. Like I've never seen Ben Schwartz as anything but lovable.
But I think he could play
He could play manic.
comedic and manic to the point where it is scary. Like,
Yeah,
contextually.
I don't know. I've just never seen him do it, so I just can't. I really can't.
The milkman in
conceptualize
Jake and Amir is pretty fucking evil.
More milk, more milk, more milk.
Or even it could be a more lighted-hearted Joker. I think he could really do it.
Yeah. Also, this is someone that I just thought should be in here somewhere. Adam Driver.
Mhm.
He definitely can play kind of evil and tortured. And I think he's got the chops behind him.
Way too intense as the Joker, man.
Well, that's my one
Like
hesitation.
He'd be like the deadpan Joker.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
telling really serious jokes.
But the person that I think could really actually kill this is Jake Gyllenhaal.
I need to say that. That's my pick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because just him, the two roles that I've seen him in that just make me absolutely positive they could do it is his most recent one in Velvet Buzzsaw, and also in what was that? What was Babe?
Yeah. The big alien or genetically modified pig. What was that movie called?
Fuck.
What was that movie called, Georgie?
The
Okja?
big pig.
Okja?
Okja, yeah.
Okja, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
him in
I
that.
served a purpose
Totally.
today.
Yeah.
Those two, I think, like his kind of almost like bizarre, crazy performance, I think like could be perfectly translated into the Joker.
Especially when he gets real skinny, like in Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler, yeah.
He would be creepy. He's definitely who I think would really suit that role.
Yeah. The only other person that I could think of that could just really play an eccentric villain, and again, it's almost too easy, is Johnny Depp.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of just seems perfectly in his wheelhouse. He loves getting on makeup and acting crazy.
More of a Riddler, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you
all right,
find one, Georgie?
Yes. I went with something. Like, I thought long and hard about this for about 42 seconds, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do something a little more grotesque, and somebody that made a huge impression of me in that David Fincher TV series, Mindhunters, was a guy called Happy Anderson. Now he's also in Bird Box. That guy on the lake where he's that crazy guy, and he's just more of this gluttonous kind of. He can just be a different type of Joker than we've seen, and maybe someone just a little more repulsive, and you can still have that psychotic, murderous vibe, but just come at it from a bit of a different angle. And he just really impressed me. He's made a big impression.
Sounds like he'd be a good Professor Pig.
Yeah, I think that's probably
More
perfect
obscure
casting.
Batman villain, maybe.
No, he'd be like the Penguin.
The Penguin.
The Penguin's more of like a business guy asshole, though.
But-
Arms dealer.
Maybe.
And he's very, very imposing.
What made you think of him?
Or for all the reasons I mentioned previously. He made a big
So
impression. He made a
just-
big impression.
Oh, okay.
And he's got that. He's just got that evil, psychotic
Yeah.
nihilism to him.
So Lex Luthor, this is
Luthor.
Did you say yours?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, mine was Connor's. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
Gyllenhaal,
nice.
Lex Luthor is probably again one of the ones that I went a little bit safer on. So with some, with people that have played villains and are very good at playing villains. Obviously Ben Mendelsohn came up as on the top of that. I think
He's got hair, you idiot.
Yeah, the great thing about hair is it can go away, as I know all too well.
I don't know, but I don't know what that's all about.
I don't know, man.
Keep on looking,
Sparse
bro.
on that. I've seen your dad.
He's fucking healthy head of hair.
Ben Mendelsohn or Ralph Fiennes, I think could both. And Ralph Fiennes doesn't have hair, so there you go.
Yeah.
I think they both could play that kind of really sinister character with that kind of sense of extreme intelligence behind them.
Yeah.
Particularly Ralph Fiennes.
This was the hardest one for me to cast by a mile. I don't know why. I spent like an hour on this. I looked at dozens and dozens of people. And one thing I did realize while doing it was that I this is fucked up. I really like Jesse Eisenberg in the role. Not necessarily in the role as portrayed, but or as it was written, but
He put his own stamp on it for sure.
yeah, and I just think it was, it was a really interesting performance, and I would like to see him have a go. He was my favorite part of Justice League when he showed up at the end, and isn't it time we had a league of our own? I'm like, that's the only thing I'm keen for coming out of this is him forming a little villain society. But I did have to pick someone, and I'm so ashamed that at all the people I looked at and how funny I think it is that everyone, when they were casting Lex Luthor, they're like, oh, it's got to be what's his name from Breaking Bad?
Oh, Bryan Cranston.
Because he's bald. Yeah, I'm like, and after everyone I looked at, I ended up picking a bald guy myself. But it's not because of that. But it's Corey Stoll from Ant-Man and House of Cards.
He'd be really good.
I think he brings such an interesting presence in Ant-Man. I think he's one of the better MCU villains and really unsung because he is this really slick kind of business guy with just this slight hint of insanity in there that I think could work, something similar to that, could work really well in the role of Lex Luthor. Someone who can be really charming.
And somebody who knows their stuff. In both House of Cards and that, he felt like he knew, he had the intellect.
Absolutely, yeah. And he feels like someone who could work well with like, reporters and stuff. Like he could be a presidential candidate or something,
Definitely.
which Lex Luthor is at times. And he's also huge. He's a big dude, which I think can help with the role of Lex Luthor. Like he's meant to be in some ways the ideal human.
Opposite. What do you think about someone like Peter Dinklage? If we're talking about someone that is kind of like refined, like I've always found Lex Luthor to just kind of be this like, I don't know, very refined, almost like Kingpin.
Yeah.
Except less violent.
Yeah.
Which is when I think like Peter Dinklage does such a good job in Game of Thrones of being someone that's really intelligent and kind of almost kind of cutthroat in that sense.
Yeah,
I
there's such a good element of Lex Luthor is the kind of jealousy and hatred he has for Superman. And I feel like Dinklage could sell that, as long as he doesn't have to try and do a British accent.
Well, you see, guys, send us your questions. You get a 45-minute response. This is the most authentic podcast.
This is the show now.
Get your questions.
We're just going to do fan
in.
casting from here on in.
Send us all. If you want X-Men, Harry Potter, send them in. We'll do it. We have a lot of fun with this stuff, and we spend too much time on it, but it's all okay.
Hit me up if you want to hear every other DC character, because I've got them.
So next week, guys, we've got our Us review. I'm very excited for that. Plus the week movie show, as per usual. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, podcasting thing, the other one. We'll be back next week, Connor.
See ya.